Greeks, Greek Cypriots, and hopefully many more who will be interested in what I have to say, lend me your ears. The connection between Greece and Cyprus, that is what this video today is all about, and I really want to get this out there to people. I know probably a lot of people who are going to follow this, maybe my channel after this video, or who will watch this video might be of Greek or Cypriot origin, but genuinely I'd love it to be seen by people beyond that, so that my mission of this video is accomplished, which is for people to understand what the connection between Cyprus and Greece is. Now, I want to make it very clear, I'm not here saying that Greece and Cyprus should be the same country. Yeah, so I don't want to hear people going, we are Cypriot and we are not Greek and blah blah blah. I get that. I get that our nationality is different. But this video is going to show you why Greece and Cyprus are the two most connected countries. And when I say connection, I don't mean like, any silly connection. I'm talking about deep-rooted connection that came through history and time. And I'm also going to briefly speak about the Turkish Cypriots as well, who, by the way, are Cypriots, and I have love and respect for them. And I think a lot of them tend to see my content sometimes and they start thinking, oh, this guy is like on about the enesis again, the union between the two countries. It's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to preach an enesis between the two countries. I'm here to explain to you why a lot of us Greek Cypriots also say we're Greek. In London, half the time when you ask a Cypriot what they are, a lot of the time they probably say to you, I'm Greek, or they'll say I'm Greek Cypriot, or they're going to say I'm Greek and then go, but I'm from Cyprus Greek. And some people have a bit of a hard time understanding why we do that. But anyway, so let's dive into it so you can understand what's happening. So the first thing I'm going to talk about today is the fact that Cyprus and Greece share the same national anthem. And a lot of people that always argue against Greece and Cyprus's connection, and of course I'm talking about the Greek part of Cyprus, they don't realize that we actually share the same national anthem, and they're like, oh, how come? If you look into when the Greek national anthem was created by a poet, a Greek poet called Dionysos Solomos, it was in 1823, which is 2 years after Greece began its war of independence against Turkey. And Greece was for 400 years under Ottoman rule, which it still baffles me till this day how that can be the case. But that's what happened. And 1821 is when that revolution started. And in fact, yesterday was the 25th of March. And it was 2 years-ish after that this poet wrote our national anthem. And this national anthem talks about being brave, courageous, about taking your sword up against, evil or against oppression. And it was basically aimed towards, at the time, the Ottoman Empire. Obviously, modern day Turkey, we have the problems with Cyprus, and I'm going to get to that. But I'll call it Ottoman Empire at the time, because modern day Turkey, not politically, but I think a lot of the people, they've changed a bit. Like, the modern times are a bit different now, but Cyprus still has the problem of the north, or what is known as the Cyprus problem, and I'm gonna get to that. But imagine our two countries share the same national anthem. You find me another two countries, modern day, maybe there is one or two, I don't know, but as far as I know, we're the only two countries that share the same national anthem. And guess what? It's about oppression against the Ottoman Empire, and Cyprus is still under some sort of an oppression against Turkey, because Turkey has occupied the north of Cyprus, and we have a big problem with this. And what was meant to be an intervention by the Turkish government in 1974 to protect the Turkish Cypriots at the time, which to some extent were mistreated, and there were bad things happening. And, I'm not here to dispute that, but what was meant to be an intervention and them coming in to create a little zone where they protect the Turkish Cypriots turned into the Cyprus losing a third of its country. And my parents, I'm not going to say details behind it, but my parents, both of them were from the north, and they lost all of their lands, and we were, you know, cast out into the south, what is now the south of Cyprus, which is still the legitimate part of Cyprus. Because guess what? No matter how much people keep going, oh, what? Cyprus is also Turkish. It is not a legitimate part of Cyprus. The north of Cyprus is defined as an occupied territory, okay? It is not an official state. The north of Cyprus is only officially regarded by Turkey, the country. No other country, state, organization in the world regards the north of Cyprus as an official state, okay? And that is where the Turkish Cypriots are, and over time, more investment came into the north, more Turkish people came to settle. So it's become quite a mess now for Cyprus. And this problem we do not believe is ever going to be, you know, resolved. Now, back to the connection with Greece and Cyprus. The second really important thing about Greece and Cyprus's connection is that Cyprus is the island of Aphrodite. And it's more than that. The first main settlers in Cyprus, i.e. a proper empire or kingdom or city-state that took over Cyprus, was the Greeks, yeah? And I think it was the Messenians at the time, around 1500, 1200 BC. They're the ones who first came into Cyprus to settle. And yes, there was some indigenous population, but I don't think there was much. It was kind of a almost America situation. But the main people that settled in Cyprus were the ancient Greeks. And so Cypriots, most of them speak Greek, and they speak the Cypriot dialect, which, by the way, this second point branches off to many places. So we are the island of Aphrodite. In myth, BC, it is stated that Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, was born in Cyprus. So myth says that Kronos cut one of his dad's testicles, and or both of them, sorry, and he threw it all across the world, and it landed in Cyprus. And it frothed up, and from the froth rose Aphrodite. Aphrodite, many of you know, some of you might know her as Venus, which is the copied Roman counterpart of Aphrodite. Aphro means, aphros is bubble, froth in Greek. So she came from the bubbles, the froth. So she's the deity of bubbles, but Aphrodite, and the goddess of beauty. So there's that part. And then so we have been in Greek literature since BC. And many of you don't know this, but the Cypriot dialect is closer to the ancient Greek dialect than modern Greek actually is these days. So you see, the Cypriots are almost like the Stuarts of the ancient Greek language. It's crazy. It's not exactly the same. In fact, it's still not like super close to it, but it's closer than what modern Greek is in Greece. So the way people speak in Greece is further from ancient Greek. And in fact, it's also similarly the case with Crete, I believe. There you go. Those are quite a few points there already that I'm trying to use to get you to understand as to why we have such a connection to Greece and why a lot of us Greek Cypriots feel that way. And there's a thing called nationality, and there's a thing called ethnicity. And our nationalities that we're Cypriot, and never would I try and say that, that Cyprus is not its own country. It is. But we are so heavily connected to Greece. It's insane. And we almost see ourselves as Greeks. I think a lot of the youth, to be fair, a lot of the youth these days, they're a bit disillusioned, a lot of them, about the connection with Greece and Cyprus. And a lot of them don't even seem that religious these days. And you know, I feel almost like we're losing the youth in Cyprus when it comes to, you know, the battle for keeping and preserving our Greek heritage and our Greek roots. Moving on from that, most Greek Cypriots were Greek Orthodox. When a child gets born, they are baptized, within 6 months, within a year maximum, and we are baptized Greek Orthodox. Greek Orthodox. There's no such thing as Cypriot Orthodox. Our culture is intertwined with Christianity. It's the same in Greece. Christianity is intertwined in the culture, and this is intertwined in the Cypriot culture too. So being Greek Orthodox is a massive part of being Cypriot, and you guys need to understand this. And many people have misinformation about things like this, and even our youth go on about all of these things, and it's like, just alone thinking we're Greek Orthodox, we share the same national anthem. Just these two bits alone, and that we're the island of Aphrodite, and that we are the stewards of the ancient Greek dialect, that alone should be enough evidence to show how connected we are to Greece. Now, of course, a lot of Cypriots feel a bit resentful towards Greece because, unfortunately, the events of 1974, whereby Turkey was allowed to invade, a lot of it was to do with the civil war that was happening at the time. And, you know, and in my opinion, it was massively mishandled by, you know, those who were extremely pro the enosis of Greece and Cyprus, i.e. for us to become one country. And there's so many people who have sort of a desire for Cyprus not to do that. Our president Makarios at the time, he started kind of pulling back a bit from the enosis, but the leader of EOGA, Grivas Digenis, unfortunately he was very extreme about how he felt about joining, and a lot of bad things happen and mistakes. I'm not going to go into details of that today, but, you know, and a lot of people in modern day Cyprus generalize, or people from abroad, they generalize about this and they start acting like it's the people who made the mistakes. And by the way, atrocities happen towards Turkish Cypriots as well, and Greek Cypriots. But either way, Makarios was our president. They tried to overthrow him at the time. It was a really bad mess, and you know, you can't blame the guy for backtracking because it's such a complex thing. But so a lot of Cypriots have resentment towards they have resentment towards Greece and the Greeks, and it's like, why? It wasn't the people of Greece. It wasn't the people who made those atrocities. It was a certain few people. So why are you so resentful? In my heart, I know when I go to Greece, I look around, I talk to people. I know Greeks are my brothers and sisters, and I know the biggest portion of our identity as Cypriots is rooted from the Greeks, and I will always believe this. No one will ever make me feel any different, but I wouldn't go do extreme things, of course. That's what happened back then. Now we need a bit of diplomacy. I was raised up in Cyprus till I was in year 6. My parents never taught me to have any hatred towards the Turkish Cypriots. In fact, they taught me to love them and respect them and see them as Cypriots, you know. But let's be clear on something. You know, the Ottoman Empire ruled Cyprus around the same time they ruled Greece before they were thrown out. It was a few hundred years ago. That's when Turkish Cypriots began to sort of come up as one part of our ethnicity in Cyprus. And the Greek Cypriots, though, who were Greek Orthodox, who have their roots from Greece, they've been there since BC. And there's 5 Greek Cypriots to about 1 Turkish Cypriot. So the Greek Cypriots are the majority, and people need to understand that the invasion of 1974 took way too much from us, and that at times the Turkish Cypriots, they try to push their rights too much. Did you guys know that Turkish Cypriots are allowed to have a Cypriot passport? They are. That means we acknowledge their right to do that, and we acknowledge them as Cypriots, even though they're only allowed to live in the north, and we're not allowed to live in the north anyways, the Greek Cypriots. We have the green zone that splits us, but we have appreciation now for the Turkish Cypriots, and we may not have had at one point, but I think it was more general that the Greek Cypriot population was more ignorant than anything to what was going on. But people were also scared. When people are going around committing atrocities, people get scared. So it was they were ignorant to some level, it was that they were scared. Either way, we have love and respect for the Turkish Cypriots, but don't push your rights more than what you should when you're the minority of a country. It's like me, I live in London, and it's like I'm gonna go and start preaching that London should become more Greek or more Cypriot than anything else as a minority ethnicity in this country. You know, it's preposterous, it's ridiculous. You know, and unfortunately the invasion of 1974 created more alienation between the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots, when actually before that we used to coexist. But, you know, when Turkish Cypriots claimed that there was racism against them from the Greek Cypriots, or prejudice, or whatever you want to call it, or hatred by certain Greek Cypriots, they would be right in saying that. And, you know, those were older days, etc. You know, I would say they're right in thinking this. But anyway, it's a very complex situation, this situation of Cyprus, and I'm not here to preach that today. I'll do another video on that. Today was about me getting you to understand the connection between the Greek Cypriots and the Greeks from Greece, and that it is an aeonia, an eternal connection that will never be taken from us. I can make another video one day, maybe a more detailed one about this, but those are some of the things you need to understand, yeah? Greece is the mother of Cyprus, and many other cultures and things came along the way, but Greek Orthodox, Greek roots, that is what our biggest identity is, yeah? Not the full identity, but, you know, a very big percentage of it. Anyway, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed that. Please, you know, I'm not saying things like that to anger people. Please understand that I'm just speaking of what the truth is, and the facts are there. And, you know, Cyprus became independent in 1960, only to be invaded by Turkey 14 years later, and to be cast into a miserable situation where a third of our country is occupied. And yeah, but our connection to Greece never fails. Mistakes happened, but that's why diplomacy has to take over. But it's not easy though, and it never will. And in recent times, even Greece are the ones who send the first line of defense when a drone hit Cyprus from Iran just now. So keep that in mind. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do subscribe. Yeah, I'll make more videos like these in the future. And I also do mindset stuff as well. So please follow me to see some of my mindset videos as well. And check out my stuff on TikTok, Instagram. You'll find my links below. Subscribe, like, comment. I look forward to many discussions and debates. Please to be done in peaceful ways. And Turkish Cypriots who might see this, please understand, I have love and respect for you too. But, you know, everything with balance. Thank you guys.